Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. So Manchester United are reportedly ready to back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with 8 new signings over the next 2 summers. Of course, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still manager of Manchester United. But I did initially say we need at least 5 to 6 world-class players, if we are to be future title contenders. And of course, if we are, to be back to being a competitive elite level football club. And obviously we're all aware that a massive rebuild is needed at Manchester United. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer recommended 3 good players to the squad during the summer. We spent obviously nearly £150 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and on Harry Maguire, and we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far. They have done really well. The signings we brought in, despite the fact that that we've enjoyed a really bad start to the season, and we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. But we didn't address all the problematic areas throughout the course the summer. But I did say it was going to be extremely difficult for us, to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window. And this is why some people are saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still needs more time at Manchester United. And obviously the vast majority of Manchester United fans are demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out of the football club. A lot of Man United fans, believe will be gone by Christmas. But you're still getting certain Manchester United fans, that are willing to back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and you're still getting certain pundits that believe we need to give him at least a couple more transfer windows, to see who else, of course, he can recommend in to the football club. Recently, Rio Ferdinand came out and he's give his verdict on the situation with Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and he believes Manchester United would be naive if, of course, the club were to sack Solskjaer, and he thinks Manchester United will not sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously you can still quite frankly say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United squad, because obviously analysing the majority of this squad, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Actually the majority of this team is Jose Mourinho's, and Jose Mourinho did recommend 11 players into the football club, and obviously Jose Mourinho is inheriting the vast majority of Jose Mourinho's players. I don't think Solskjaer will succeed at Manchester United, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But if he is to be within the next 2 summers, Manchester United are planning to bring 8 new players into the team. Obviously, we know as well, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, that a lot of players, of course, have left the football club. But I think despite the fact that a lot have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe, there is more problematic players with the football club. But yeah, so Solskjaer and Ed Woodward and that, are making plans for the January transfer window. And I think, if Solskjaer is to be here by January, which I think, he could be, I think, Solskjaer is keen on sticking to the policy of recruiting young British players, like he did do earlier on in the summer. So I have been reading recent reports, and it does say that reportedly we are stepping up our interest in the Leicester City duo, James Maddison and Ben Chilwell. Now, reportedly, I think it will be a combined value of within the region of £130 million, if of course we are to get them. Now, reportedly Manchester United have recently instructed scouts, to keep a close eye out on the duo, Leicester City duo. They are both only 22 years of age, and they would fit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's transfer strategy perfectly. Obviously, James Maddison's predominantly an attacking midfielder, and I think Brendan Rodgers has played him on the left quite a few times, and also Ben Chilwell I think is a defender, and I think if I'm right, he's predominantly a left back. But yeah, so like I mentioned, we wasn't in for Ben Chilwell during the summer. I think during the course of the summer we was tentatively linked with James Maddison. He reportedly said we've been in for James Maddison since June. But like I mentioned, he's predominantly attacking midfielder, and that's obviously one of the areas where Manchester United do need to strengthen up. So basically, we're looking to recruit a replacement for Ander Herrera. I also believe we need a striker. We definitely need a striker. Someone that can assure us goals. We need a proven goal scorer, because I think we look exposed in that attacking line. Obviously following the dismissal of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez, and obviously due to the injury of Anthony Martial, I think we need to recommend a striker in. Don't forget, for the majority of the summer as well, was in search for right winners. So there is still areas in the squad that do need to be addressed. But like I mentioned, if we are to get James Maddison in, like I mentioned, we the club are obviously, going to have to pay a substantial amount for him. So I think he'll probably cost us maybe in the region of 70, 80 million pounds. Don't forget, we did business with Leicester earlier on in the summer. Obviously, Manchester United did sign Harry Maguire. Obviously, we paid 80 million pounds for him. Obviously, Leicester didn't really want to lose him. This is why, of course, they demanded 80 million pounds. But if Leicester are to do business with James Maddison, obviously, they'll want a similar sort of figure, of course. But yeah, James Maddison is, of course, in his second season now with Leicester. Obviously, it was his debut season in the Premier League last season. I think last season, James Maddison, was involved in 14 goals, so scored 7 goals and provided seven assists. I think he created more chances than any other player in the Premier League last season. So that's a very, very good stat. I think he must have created around 100 chances last season, James Maddison. And Leicester did pay around £20 million for him from Norwich last summer. I think James Maddison has still got 4 years left on his current deal with Leicester, so he's under contract with them until 2023. Obviously, before he was at Leicester, like I said, he served a good couple of years in the Championship with Norwich. Also had the loan spell in Scotland with Aberdeen, and I think he initially began his career with Coventry, and I think quite a few teams, were tracking him, when he was a youngster at Coventry. But for me, I think he would be the right solution for Manchester United, with James Maddison. He would add depth in our midfield. He'd been that creativeness in that midfield, so I would be excited about the prospect of, him coming in. So I think he's one of the players on Manchester United's agenda who I think, we're set to go in for in January, or we may, go in for him next summer. Now, talking about Ben Chilwell, don't really know much about him. He's actually the same age as James Maddison, but Ben Chilwell's also flourished under Brendan Rodgers' guidance, just like James Maddison as. Like I said, I think he's predominantly a left back. Ben Chilwell is under contract with Leicester until 2024. Maybe some people will think that we don't really need anyone defensively, because obviously we addressed our defensive deficiencies with the signing of Harry Maguire. But yeah, so Ben Chilwell and James Maddison are reportedly on our agenda, and reportedly they will cost Manchester United in the region of around 130 million pounds. But we need to get at least a couple of players in January. Also, like I mentioned a couple of days ago, there was a lot of talks about Matthias Norman. Reportedly, he's on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's agenda. Don't forget, Matthias Norman has already played under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's guidance. When he had that loan spell with Mould. So maybe Solskjaer's keen on reuniting with him. I think he operates mainly as a box-to-box midfielder, and he would be a good adequate replacement for Ander Herrera. He's only 23 years of age, so he's still very, very young. Got a lot of development in him. Plus, he's a cheap alternative, because I think he's only valued up to around £20 million. He's now currently at Rostov. He's playing in Russia for Rostov. I think he joined earlier on in the summer, and I think he got awarded the Russian Premier League Player of the Month back in September. Obviously, he did play for Brighton before he was at Mould on loan. He had a couple of years with Brighton, but obviously, I don't think he made any appearances whatsoever at Brighton. So reportedly, Manchester United are also in for him. Some news regarding Jadon Sancho. Now, obviously, earlier on in the summer, Manchester United were in for Jadon Sancho. Obviously, reflecting back in the January transfer window, we identified Jadon Sancho as our number one priority target. But like I said, with our failure to qualify for the Champions League, we didn't get the pursuit of Jadon Sancho. And I did say that was one of the main factor reasons that went against us during the summer. This is why we didn't obviously get all our number one priority targets, because obviously if you're not in Champions League football, obviously it's going to be harder to attract players to the elite level. And I did say during the summer that a lot of players did have element of concerns about joining the football club. But again, I would be excited about the prospect of Jadon Sancho coming into the football club. And we are aware that he's going to cost the club a substantial amount. Probably will have to pay in the excess of at least around £100 million to get him in. I think I've been reading recent reports, and actually Dortmund, this is on Dortmund's behalf, they've actually mentioned that Jadon Sancho could leave for a very big club, so he could either leave in January or he could leave next summer. Jadon Sancho is predominantly a right winger, but can also play centrally. But I think again he would be the right solution for Manchester United. But like I mentioned, it's not always about, spending big on players and that. It's not always about getting them Glasgow players, because it doesn't always guarantee you success. And it has been proven with Manchester United in the last 6 or 7 years. So maybe we should consider being sensible with our recruitment. Just like other teams have done. Liverpool have been sensible with their recruitment. Look where they are. But yeah, it's not all about, getting them star names. But I think, Jadon Sancho would be the right player for Manchester United. And I think I would be excited about the prospect of him, playing alongside the likes of Rashford, Daniel James and Anthony Martial in our attacking line. And Jadon Sancho can also create chances. He can also score goals. Something, of course, that Manchester United, are not, doing at the moment. So we're not meeting procedures as we should be. Jadon Sancho, he's now into his third season at Borussia Dortmund. I think he's had 2 good years there with Dortmund. He's still under contract with them until 2022. But also the beneficial thing is that Jadon Sancho's also had experience of playing in the Premier League, because don't forget, before he was at Borussia Dortmund, he did serve a couple of years, with Man City, but never got a shot first team football at Manchester City. So this is the main factor reason why he left City, of course, to join Borussia Dortmund. But if Jadon Sancho did come back to the Premier League, I think it would be better for his development. I think it'd create a better platform for him, and I think he'd succeed in the Premier League anyway. So he definitely won't spend the entirety of his career with Borussia Dortmund, and he's still only 19 years of age. Other players, that were on our agenda, during the summer. Like I mentioned, I think, the majority of the players we was in for during the summer, who we didn't manage to get, probably more than likely we'll reignite our interest in some of them in January. Maybe we'll leave some until next summer. But, Christian Eriksen, we also inquired about getting Christian Eriksen towards the back end of the transfer window. Don't forget, I think for the majority of the summer, it was mainly Real Madrid, that were in for Christian Eriksen. And I think, Christian Eriksen's preference, obviously, was to make a move to Spain. And I do believe probably Christian Eriksen's still going to leave Tottenham. I presume he'll leave in January, or he will leave, when his current deal, does expire. Tottenham obviously, don't want to lose him, but they definitely wouldn't want to lose him on a free transfer. But yeah, we could go in for Christian Eriksen in January. Like I said, I think he would be the right calibre player for Man United. He's well Premier League proven. He's got a lot of intuition about, the game. I think he's predominantly an attacking midfielder. Is he like in his late 20s now, if I'm right, Christian Eriksen? But I think Tottenham earlier on in the summer, demanded that they wanted around £130 million at the first, and that's a substantial amount. But then I think initially Tottenham had lowered their asking price to around 60 or 70 million pounds. But yeah, Christian Eriksen's he's not far away now from making 300 appearances for Tottenham. I think he scored around 60 odd goals in 270 odd appearances for them, and Tottenham paid around 11-12 million pounds for him from Ajax, was it, back in 2013. So Eriksen now is into his 7th season with Tottenham. There's also been talk, there was talks earlier the other week as well about Mario Mandzukic from Juventus. Now, he's a player reportedly Manchester United could also try and go in for in January. Again, he's a cheap alternative. He probably only costs us in the region from between 15 to 20 million pounds. But I think, we did actually inquire about getting him, towards the back end of the summer transfer window. I think, the board had element of concerns about recommending him in. Obviously, reflecting on Mario Mandzukic's age, because he is now, 33, is he? Don't get me wrong, I admire his career because he's had a fantastic career, as Mario Mandzukic. He has obviously now been at Juventus a number of years, but again, we were seeing him as an adequate replacement for Lukaku. Don't forget, in the last week or two of the summer transfer window, there was talks about, Paulo Dybala, coming to the football club. But yeah, definitely, further more investment is needed. But like I mentioned, we are... But like I mentioned, at the moment, we've enjoyed a really, really bad start to the season. We've only won 2 league games so far this season out of 8 league games. We're 8 games into the season. We've won 2, we've drawn 3, and we've lost 3. So in that aspect, we've only registered 9 points from 8 league games, and we know that's nowhere near good enough, to our standards. I think we're facing a relegation battle, especially at this moment in time. We're sitting 2 points above relegation. Like I mentioned last time Manchester United were relegated, obviously, was back in 1974, which is obviously, 40 odd year ago. But obviously, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got the job permanently, we've won what 5 out of our last 23 games. So, like I mentioned, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has endured a difficult 7-month tenure at Manchester United. But overall, Solskjaer's been at Man United, for around 10 months now. He's been at the club, just under a year. Like I mentioned, we got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in as interim manager at the first. Obviously, Solskjaer did really, really well in that 3-month period, when he was the interim manager, and that, he won his first 8 games. He won 14 out of 19 in all competitions, and he got the best out of these players, and, he exceeded expectations and that. And, since he got the job, permanently, everything, of course, has just seemed to have all gone wrong, basically. But I think, I think regardless if we win or lose to Liverpool, I think it has been assured that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job, will be safe for at least the next couple of games. Well, it'll be safe at this present time anywhere, because there was recent reports not too long ago saying, if we do lose heavily to Liverpool, then that could put Solskjaer's job in serious jeopardy. But it actually has been revealed how much it will cost the football club, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is to be sacked, and Manchester United will have to pay £7 million in compensation, to get rid of him. And that's obviously like half, or is it just over half, something like that, than what we paid, Jose Mourinho, because obviously, we paid, was it around £20 million to get rid of Jose Mourinho. And, everything basically, needs to improve at Manchester United. We need to start scoring goals, because we've already, scored 9 goals in 8 league games so far this season. We need to be more creative. We need to start creating more chances. Maybe certain games this season we have created chances, but again, we haven't been ruthless enough in front of goal. We haven't registered a single shot on target, in the last 2 games. I think also our home form needs to improve, because our home form's been terrible. Our away form needs to improve, because don't forget, it's 11 away games now that Solskjaer's had without a win at Manchester United. The last away win we had, obviously, was against PSG last season, of course, when Manchester United did produce that miraculous comeback. But we are an embarrassment at the moment, and I did say, due to our inconsistency, I think everyone's to blame, so it's a mixture, in that aspect, but everyone is to blame. But like I mentioned, I think, the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board, because obviously, the board didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough during the summer, as they did actually assure that they would have done. But I think the board actually did assure at the start of this season that, regardless of what happens this season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job, should be safe for them at least this season, because I think they realised that, they didn't back him enough, during the summer. So I think the board, what they've mentioned anyway, they've assured that Solskjaer will be back in the next couple of windows if he is to be still at Manchester United. But yeah, the board have been a liability, not just recently, they've been a liability, for several years, looking at it, with the poor recruitment and the poor selection of managers and that. So they're mainly to blame. I think also a lot of the blame does stem from Ed Woodward. You can also, blame him. I think also, some of the blame does stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. So he's definitely got to take some responsibility, because, his tactics are questionable. He doesn't have any intuition as a manager. That's what I mean. What I mean is that, he hasn't really got that managerial experience, not really to the highest level, and that's obviously, an element of concern. Before he actually came to Man United, Solskjaer, he only won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mould. Obviously, before he was at Mould, he was at Cardiff. Before he was at Mould, he was at Cardiff, and, he only had a really, really short tenure with Cardiff, did Solskjaer, and I think he only lasted around 30 games, and after that, he ended up getting a sack, because actually, he did get Cardiff City relegated. Obviously, as well, he managed the Manchester United reserve team, I think from 2008 to 2010, so actually, I watched some of this team at this day and age, grow and develop. He watched some of this team at this day and age, grow and develop, did Solskjaer. But yeah, so and like I mentioned, we are tactically inept, I will admit that, and I think also a lot of the blame does stem from a lot of players because I think the majority of these players, do need a reality check, reflecting on their bad run of performances. So definitely, a lot of players do need to step up to the plate. So for me, everyone's to blame. But recently, Gary Neville mentioned. Well, he gave his overarching view on it, and that he said, he criticised the board as well. He thinks the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board. But I think, he's saying, Roy Keane saying now, Ferdinand saying, Manchester United, should stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But the mistake, Man United have made some mistakes in the last 6 or 7 years. One of the mistakes we've done, obviously, is giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job because I think we should have never ever given him the job. We should have waited at some point until the end of last season, or we should have waited at some point until this season, to decide whether to give him the job or not. I think the club have also put him in a very very difficult position. So in a way, in that aspect, I do feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think the only reason that the football club are sticking with Solskjaer at this present time is because he was a club legend. Obviously, he was a long-serving player for Manchester United. He was at Manchester United 11 years. Obviously, as a player, he made 366 appearances in all competitions and scored 126 goals. Just in the league alone, he made 235 appearances, I think it was, and scored 91 goals. And obviously won 6 Premier League titles in that with the football club. So yeah, has got that proven pedigree as a player, but obviously hasn't got it as a manager. So with him obviously being a club legend, like I've just said, the board are obviously softening their stance on Solskjaer, because I think if it had been any other manager now, with the way we've been performing this season, I think they would have been sacked. But I still don't think, the board are going to last there with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But like I do keep mentioning, reflecting on the amount of money that's being spent at this football club, also reflecting on the history of this football club, we should be much more of a commanding position, than winning now. Without a shadow of a doubt. But, there's still some people out there, that have got sympathy for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously, this is the worst Man United team I've seen in this generation for a long, long time. Obviously, reflecting back under the Alex Ferguson era, we had a lot of great players. Obviously, he developed a lot of young players. Money was spent in that, but he obviously, developed a lot of young players. Ferguson controlled the transfer policy. He controlled the contract, and we just had 20 odd years of success under Alex Ferguson. But obviously now this is no longer the Ferguson era. Like Solskjaer recently said, this is a different era with different players, different groups that of course Manchester United are building. But yeah, and like I mentioned, managers now, don't get the time, that they would like at football clubs, because obviously the boards, lay the laws a lot more now than, back in the old generation, they were nowhere near as ruthless as they are now, and that because, like I mentioned, taking into account, Alex Ferguson, didn't win out in his first 4 years at Manchester United, if you do remember rightly. And obviously, at that time, he was one game away from getting the sack, and he didn't. And then, obviously, look what he went and, accomplished, Alex Ferguson. I said, regardless of who our manager is, no one is going to ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy. No, we'll never replicate what we did under Ferguson. And Solskjaer definitely can't invoke Ferguson's legacy to save him at Manchester United. And that, but yeah, so we'll never be the team that we was under Alex Ferguson, but it's actually worse now under the Solskjaer era, than what it was under the Jose Mourinho era. It was bad enough under the Jose Mourinho era, it was really, really bad under the David Moyes era. David Moyes obviously, at the time only lasted 10 months at Manchester United, so he's actually, the manager that's had the shortest tenure with the club since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously Moyes actually at the time signed a 6-year deal, but obviously, got sacked with just being, he only lasted 10 months, and that was one mistake what Alex Ferguson made. Was recommended David Moyes into the job. In my opinion, I think Ferguson should have recommended Jose Mourinho in after his retirement, and you could arguably say if we had recommended Jose Mourinho in after Ferguson's retirement, then maybe it would have been a different scenario with Manchester United. Maybe it wouldn't have been assured, would have been much better than we are now, but I think, it could have been a different scenario, because back in the day, Jose Mourinho was regarded as one of the best managers in the world. Obviously, reflects on his success in that, he's won a lot of trophies. Obviously with us, he won the Europa League and the League Cup in his first season. Obviously, Mourinho had a 2.5-year tenure at Manchester United. So he's actually the longest serving manager we've had since the Ferguson era. But I've already explained the reasons why it didn't work out under the Jose Mourinho Moreira. Couldn't control our transfer strategy. It was part of the bus football. Obviously had bad disputes with the board and had a lot of bad disputes with some of the top, well, all the top players, should I say. The board weren't backing the signings that I wanted to recommend to the football club last summer. So these are the reasons, why it didn't work out under him. I'm afraid. But like I said, a hell of a lot of money, has been spent at Manchester United in the last, 6 or 7 years. Like I mentioned, just over £140 million, under Solsjaker. At the moment, just under £400 million was spent under Mourinho. £200 million was spent under Van Gaal. Around £67 million was spent under Moyes. So I think, if my calculation is right, that's around £700 million Manchester United have spent in the last 6 or 7 years on players. And that's obviously not taking in it. That's just under £1 billion, but that's not taking into account what was spent under Alex Ferguson. If you want to take into the equation what was spent under Ferguson, then obviously it's way over £1 billion that has been invested into the football club. We haven't only spent big on players. We've also got players on big contracts. Obviously you've got Rashford on £300,000 a week, and I think Rashford is one of the players that seriously does need a reality check, because Rashford for the majority of this season has actually been underperforming. He hasn't actually performed to the standards as we all expected as Rashford. He hasn't performed to the standards as we all expected. Like I said, he's mainly enjoyed a difficult time with Man United this season in comparison to his time when he first broke into the senior squad. So far, Rashford has spent the entirety of his career with Manchester United. He's been a United player since the age of 7, and he's been in the senior squad with us, since 2016. Recently just, recovered from a groin problem, but he really needs to step up to the plate. Obviously, you've got Martial, obviously on £200,000 a week. He signed a new contract earlier on. It was back in January, should I say. He signed this 5-year deal. You've got Aaron Maguire on £200,000 a week, so he's on a substantial amount. You've got David De Gea on £375,000 a week. He's actually now the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, is David De Gea. David De Gea has been at the football club for 8 years. He's now into his 9th season as a Manchester United player, so he's been here nearly a decade as De Gea. And you've got obviously Paul Pogba on £290,000 a week. You've got Lingard on over £100,000 a week. So we have got players on massive contracts at the football club. And like I mentioned, the players for me that need to improve. Rashford really needs to step up to the plate. Jesse Lingard needs to step up to the plate, because I think Jesse Lingard's also been very, very poor. Reflects on his status at the football club. He should be performing much better. I think, Paul Pogba, he also needs to step up to the plate. I know he hasn't played, he's missed quite a lot of games this season, due to injury, but I think, he's mainly enjoyed a difficult time at Man United since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016. But yeah, there's just so many players, that I do really, need to step up to the plate. But like I mentioned, at the end of last season, and I mentioned it at the start of this season, I think, our expectations this season, will be to finish in that top 4. We'll be to finish in that top 4 and perhaps maybe win some silverware. Because obviously, we've got to get into that top 4. We need to get back into the Champions League. And I'm disregarding the top 4 now. I know we're not going to get that top 4 now. I think, Manchester United have flown it in that. But we obviously need to get back into the Champions League. But yeah, definitely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure is not going to become successful. Solskjaer is our 4th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson and Moreira. And I did initially say, we're not really known for a sacking club, and we haven't really got the structure to keep sacking managers, even though, we've already sat 3 managers, since the Alex Ferguson era. And I haven't seen any improvements at all under Solskjaer, than what I saw under Mourinho, Louis van Gaal and David Moyes. But yeah, like I mentioned, there has been a list of managers on our agenda, who could replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. As you all know, There has been a lot of recent talks going on about Max Allegri. There's been a lot of speculation going on about it. For the last couple of weeks at least, it's been stemming from a lot of Italian reports saying that we've made Max Allegri our primary candidate to replace Solskjaer. Reportedly, Max Allegri is actually interested in coming to Manchester United. Reportedly, he's actually notified us. He would take over if he could be assured to be given the job within the next few weeks. Maybe quite a few, or a lot of Manchester United fans believe that he would be the right candidate for the football club, Max Allegri. Obviously, I think Max Allegri is actually learning English in preparation for his potential move. Obviously, he hasn't been managerless for long. He only stepped down as Juventus manager earlier on in the summer. Obviously, the vast majority of his Silver one was with Juventus because he served 5 years with Juventus. Won 5 Serie A's with them. I think he won 4 Coppa Italians and led them to 2 Champions League finals. Obviously, Juventus lost them 2 Champions League finals. But I think if Max Allegri was to come in, obviously the club would have to show him a substantial amount to spend to obviously continue our rebuilding process. But we'll probably stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for now at least. But yeah, if we were to sack him, then there's obviously been a lot of talks about Max Allegri. But Max Allegri's been managing now for just over 16 years. He began his managerial career in 2003, like I said. But so far, he spent his entirety of his managerial career in Italy. But at the first, he managed just small various of Italian clubs. Then obviously emulated up and that, and he before he was at Juventus, I think he managed AC Milan. I think he managed AC Milan for a good 4 years, was it? He also managed Cagliari for a couple of years. I think he also managed Sassuolo at one point. So he's managed a lot of Italian teams, and I think he spent the entirety of his playing career in Italy. But do you think he would be the right man for Man United? There's been other managers, that have also been mentioned. Don't forget. There's other managers that have been mentioned. There's Pochettino. Possibly we could reignite our interest in Pochettino. Don't forget, before Solskjaer got recommended into the football club, Pochettino, was on our agenda for quite a while. Obviously, I said the element of concern I've got about Mauricio Pochettino that he hasn't won out in terms of silverware yet, but I think he's got a lot of experience. He's well proven in the Premier League. He's been at Tottenham 5 years. He's now into his 6th season with Tottenham. Obviously, he got Tottenham to their first ever Champions League final last season. And if Man United were to go back in for him, obviously, we'd have to pay probably 32 million in compensation. Despite the fact that I don't think he's got a release clause in his contract. I think Pochettino did sign a 5-year contract last summer with Tottenham with around 8.5 million a year. So he's under contract with them, I think, until 2023. But yeah, I think if Pochettino, could grasp the opportunity at Manchester United, I think, would come in, even though Daniel Levy is a hard negotiator, who's obviously the chairman. But, he's had 5 good years with Tottenham, like I mentioned. Obviously, before he was at Tottenham, he had a good short tenure with Southampton. Obviously, Pochettino began his managerial career with Espanyol, and he started management in 2009. So, obviously, he has been managing now for just over 10 years, nearly 11 years now. But a lot of Man United fans believe, he would be the right candidate. But we actually went with Solskjaer over Pochettino at the time because obviously Solskjaer was a cheaper solution, and obviously Solskjaer knows the traditions of the football club. But it's not going to work out under him. Let's be honest. Obviously, there's been talks about Brendan Rodgers. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers. Of course, He's at Leicester. This is actually his first season with Leicester, Brendan Rodgers, and I think, he has done really, really well. Leicester are a good team. They've done quite well this season. I think they have been unlucky in certain games that they haven't won. They've got a pretty decent team. Like I mentioned, I think they're a club that, can get the top 4 this season. Don't forget, Leicester's most iconic moment was when they won the Premier League back in 2016. And probably Brendan Rodgers, will succeed as Leicester manager. Like I said, he's proven in the Premier League as Leicester. He won't come to Man United anywhere. He's no intentions of leaving Leicester. But before he was at Leicester, like I mentioned, he had a good couple of years with Celtic. I think he was at Celtic, was he 2 or 3 years, if I can remember rightly, was Brendan Rodgers. Don't forget, he had a great, couple of years with Liverpool. He had one good season with Liverpool, and that was back in 2013-14. Obviously, as well, he managed Swansea, so he's managed quite a few teams as Brendan Rodgers. Obviously, a lot of Man United fans, would like to see, obviously, Arsene Wenger coming. I doubt very, very much, that Arsene Wenger, will come to Manchester United. I don't see that happening, to be quite honest with you. I don't see Wenger coming to Manchester United, quite honestly. Obviously, I think it recently said that actually Arsene Wenger has turned down some offers from Premier League clubs. I think he also was interested in taking the Lyon job in France, but I think recent reports said that Laurent Blanc was the favourite to take over at Lyon. Wenger's obviously, been managerless since, well, he's been managerless now for over a year, hasn't he now? Because obviously he stepped down as Arsenal manager back in May 2018, and he served, 22 years there with Arsenal. But yeah, there's been quite a lot of managers, mentioned. But like I said, I think Max Allegri is the number one priority. I don't think, if Solsjaker is to be sacked, we won't get another former Manchester United player in as manager and that. Because don't remember rightly when Manchester United sacked David Moyes, obviously after 10 months, obviously we got Louis van Gaal in at the end, but obviously, Giggs came in as interim manager. I think he only managed, 4 games, did Ryan Giggs. Managed 4 games, did Ryan Giggs. I think he won 2, drawn 1 and lost 1. But yeah, Ryan Giggs, I say again, he hasn't got that managerial experience, but was a great player for Manchester United. Obviously, Giggs served around, was it, I can remember rightly, was it around 24 years in total with a football club and that. Yeah. But I still believe, we will stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the moment. So I think the club are still willing to back him. Like I did give you an update earlier on in regards to the new director of football at Manchester United, because obviously we know that the new director of football. The director of football role at Manchester United is currently vacant, as you all know. Obviously, throughout the course of the summer, obviously, we was trying to get a new was trying to get a new director of football in, and there's, there was some former Manchester United players linked with that director's role. Obviously, I think Ed Woodward is still keen on recommending a new director of footballing. But during the summer, there was quite a few former Manchester United players, linked with the role at the football club. And I think Ed Woodward had spoken to, our former players about roles and that at the football club. There was Darren Fletcher linked with a role. There was Patrice Evra linked with a role. There was Rio Ferdinand linked with a role. I think at one point there was talks of Paul Mitchell and that, coming in. So quite a few names, mentioned. But obviously now Edwin van der Sar's, being mentioned again. Obviously now I think he's actually the number one priority to come in as our new director of football. But I think Edwin van der Sar has actually indicated out that he's interested in making a return to Manchester United, and I think he would be the right man, to oversee our transfer business, because I think, he would be reliable to oversee our transfer business, because like I mentioned, Van der Sar's got that experience, and I did say, it would be beneficial to recommend someone, who's obviously, got that experience, and, Van der Sar's got it, because Van der Sar's currently the CEO of Ajax at the moment. I think this is now his 4th season with Ajax, and I think Man United have been very, very impressed, the work he's obviously produced at Ajax. Plus, obviously, Edwin van der Sar is a former keeper for Man United as well. Was with us from 2005 to 2011. I think he made about 264 appearances for the club in our competitions. I think that's the amount of appearances he did make. Obviously won 4 Premier Leagues with us. Obviously played in 3 Champions League finals with a football club. So yeah, I think he would be the right man. But I think Ed Woodward anyway is keen on recommending him in. But that's one of the structural changes we do need at the football club. Is getting a new director of footballing. But yeah, the reports actually I think broke out about that yesterday. Reports broke out about that yesterday. Yeah, and like I mentioned, I gave you the news earlier on, didn't I? In regards to Paul Pogba. Obviously, Paul Pogba's ongoing toe. I think ankle, foot, toe injury. obviously has been surrounding the player for a number of weeks now, should I say. Paul Pogba's, been injured actually for the vast majority of this season. He has actually now, I think it's almost certain that he's ruled out of the Liverpool game due to this, injury he's got. And reportedly, fitness staff, fear he could not return until the end of October. So reportedly, he's going to be out until the beginning of November. Is Paul Pogba. So yeah, he's been ruled out of the game against Liverpool. But yeah, so I think the other players, that we've got out with injury. I think everyone prior to Paul Pogba, should be back for Liverpool, and of course prior to Eric Bailly, I think it's only Eric Bailly. Hold on, it's Eric Bailly, Foster-Mensah and Pogba. I think they're the only three that won't be available for Liverpool. But I think prior to them three, I think everyone else should be available. But Martial should be back. Obviously Martial's missed the last 6 games for Man United, or is it the last 7 games? He has missed in all competitions due to injury. Like I said, he enjoyed a really, really good start to the season, did Anthony Martial, obviously until he sustained that thigh injury. Like I said, he's a very, very good player. I still don't think Martial has yet emulated that level, but he's still only 23 years of age, is Anthony Martial. Like I said, he's scored now over 50 goals for the football club. Obviously now he's into his 5th season as a Manchester United player. And like I said, so he should be back, for the game against Liverpool. Martial does predominantly play out wide on the left, but he seems to be more effective in that central position. You see the best of Anthony Martial there. Like I said, when he comes back into the team, at least he will add more inspiration in that attacking third in the pitch, and maybe will be able to assure us more goals. Because at the start of the season, I think in his first 3 games, Martial, scored 2 goals and provided an assist. But he hasn't played since the 2-1 defeat to Crystal Palace. And Luke Shaw, he should be definitely back for Liverpool. He's also missed, I think, the last 7 games in all competitions for Man United. He's been out with a hamstring problem. I think he's actually injury prone, is Luke Shaw. He's not to the same sort of extent as how Eric Bailly is, because I think Eric Bailly is worse than Luke Shaw in terms of injuries and that. But I still think Luke Shaw's quite injury prone. He has sustained quite a few injuries during his Man United career. But I think he's done really well. Luke Shaw, of course, is our first choice left back. Won the double player of the season last season, reflecting on his impressive performances. But yeah, still got a lot of development in him. Like I mentioned, Jesse Lingard's been recently out with a hamstring injury. He should definitely be back. He needs to step up to the plate. Victor Lindelof, he missed a 1-0 defeat to Newcastle because Lindelof has been out with a back injury, as you all know. But I don't think that injury is too severe. But yeah, Tuanzebe fulfilled his role in the 1-0 defeat to Newcastle. Fulfilled his role in 1-0 defeat to Newcastle. Like I said, Phil Jones has been out of injury, but obviously he's not going to get selected in the league games. Like I said, the likes of Jones and Rojo and all that, they get more of their opportunities in the Europa League and the Cup games. Wan-Bissaka, of course, he's been out with illness. He's missed the last 2 league games, but he's missed the last 3 in all competitions. Obviously, with the illness, it's tonsillitis, by the way, that Wan-Bissaka's had. But, a lot of people believe, he has been our most consistent signing as Wan-Bissaka, and I do believe the same. And, I think he's got all the ingredients to become a success at Manchester United. Like I mentioned, Eric Bailly's not going to be available because he's out until the end of December with a knee injury. Mason Greenwood's actually not got a back injury, I think, at the moment, it does say. But, I think he should be available. I don't think he'll start against Liverpool, like I mentioned, and he definitely probably won't start, but I think he could, be involved in the game. I know Mason Greenwood is one of the young upcoming players who I do think, is going to become a success at Manchester United. He will become a success at Manchester United. I've got some element of concerns about, certain young upcoming players, but, we have got a lot of young players in the squad, that are developing and trying to improve at Manchester United, which is very, very good. But Mason Greenwood, will succeed. I think, by the time he's 23, 24, he will become a success at Man United, and he will be a world-class centre-forward, in my opinion. He turned 18 years of age at the beginning of this month. But yeah, Played on the right, I think, in the last couple of games, by the way. But yeah, and I think also Tuanzebe, he'll be another young upcoming player that does become a success at Manchester United. He's another one. Obviously, Tuanzebe, has played a few games this season. Like I said, his versatility is good. He is predominantly a centre-back, but he can also play as a full-back as well, can Tuanzebe. But yeah, I think he can become a success. Like I said about Chong, I've got some element concerns about him. I don't think he will become a success at Man United. My overarching view on Scott McTominay is I think, I don't know if he can become a success at the club. I don't know if he can, I don't know if he's got the attributes to succeed as a Man United player. I think credit him for the majority of this season. He's done really, really well. I think, he had a bad game against Newcastle, but I think prior to that, McTominay has really, really stepped up to the plate because he has actually started the vast majority of the games this season, especially in the league. He's actually, for the majority of this season, been playing alongside Pogba, but obviously due to the absence of Paul Pogba, he's been playing alongside Matic, obviously played alongside Fred against Newcastle, and I thought in that particular game, McTominay and Fred both looked exposed. My overarching view on Fred is that, in my opinion, maybe Fred, does need to be given more time at the football club. Fred's, only been here since last summer. Again, I do believe Man United overpaid for him. We paid just under £50 million for him. But to be fair to Fred, he never really got the opportunity under Mourinho. He's had a good couple of games this season. But yeah, maybe give him a bit more time. But like I mentioned, I think any of our midfield options are much better solutions than Matic, definitely. Got Angel Gomez again, another one of our midfield options. You've got Diego Dalot, one of our backup options at right back. Like I said, he's played a couple of times this season. He's been, injured quite a few times this season. As Diego Dalot. Yeah. So like I mentioned, Solsjaker has got a lot of trustworthy in his young upcoming players. But yeah, I will do my preview for the Man United Liverpool game. Obviously, I did my video yesterday. I give you the preview. I give you actually not the preview, my score predictions for the game, and I obviously give you my starting 11 prediction. Obviously now at the time I thought Paul Pogba was going to be available, but obviously recent news broke out that obviously now he's not going to be available, and I do believe that Paul Pogba has been in Dubai as well. But yeah, so he's going to be a big miss, Miss Paul Pogba. But at least we're expected to see Martial and Luke Shaw back, and the vast majority of our other players that are injured back to full fitness. Which is obviously very, very good news. You can't based on our bad run of form and performances and that you can't use injuries as an excuse. Basically, it isn't an excuse, and that we have had imperative players out, but it's still not acceptable the way that Manchester United, are performing, so far this season. But yeah, like I mentioned, Liverpool's going to be a very, very big game. Obviously, Man United Liverpool is still a big fixture. The two most successful clubs in England historically. Obviously, Liverpool are doing well this season. They're sitting top of the league. They've won 8 out of 8. They're sitting 8 points clear of Manchester City. So I think, this could be, actually, Liverpool's year. But yeah, like I mentioned, Liverpool's record at Old Trafford, is bad. They've only won twice at Old Trafford in the Premier League in the last decade. But they have got some really good players, and everyone thought Liverpool would have collapsed, when obviously they lost Luis Suarez, obviously they lost Philippe Coutinho, everyone in recent years. So obviously they all thought Liverpool would have collapsed, but I said they invested well in the last couple of windows. Did Liverpool? They didn't make an investment this summer, but I said in the previous windows before this summer, they did really, really good investment. Did Liverpool, and they've got some really, really good players, of Liverpool, and that could obviously cause Manchester United a lot of problems. Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.